You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the May 16th, 2024 meeting of the Michigan City Housing Authority Commission. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
All right, it's 3 o'clock. Let's call this meeting to order. Michigan City Housing Commissioners, stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Heather, could you lead us?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mrs. Dixon, could you call the roll, please?
Yes. Chairman Loney,
Present.
Vice Chairman Reyna,
Present.
Commissioner Benning,
Present.
Commissioner Benson,
Present.
Commissioner Conley,
Present.
Commissioner Greer.
How many are present? Do we have a quorum?
We have 5 members present. We have a quorum.
Awesome. So as part of the chairman's open remarks, we're going to say we don't have the minutes because we had some staff issues, so we will approve both this meeting minutes and last month's minutes on our next meeting. Just move that forward. As everybody knows, we've got a lot of stuff going on here at the Housing Authority, and I think we're making pretty good progress. There's going to be reports from our executive director, and other than that, I don't have a lot of remarks right now, so that takes us to public comment. I don't see any members of the public here, so we can skip that. Do we have any communication?
Yeah.
Attorney Riggs?
None tomorrow.
Okay. Reports. Housing Choice Voucher report.
I know you are, but is Angela going to visit?
Auntie's gone.
Okay.
Back today.
Okay, no problem, no problem. I will do the voucher program. Our utilization is at 65%. We have 243 families leased on the voucher program, and we have 3 of our home ownership vouchers leased. We received $162,475 in HAP for this month, and we spent $161,081. Just a note about the HAP. So what we receive is for that month, and just sometimes when we what we spend could be for that month and previous months. So it's not always specifically for it's what we spent out, but not necessarily all what was spent for the month of May. And there are 2,214 applicants on the waiting list. There are currently 143 families that are searching for new units. We currently have one. We had 1 new lease up in the month of April. There were no vouchers that were issued. Again, it says here we have 146, so 143 from the waiting list that we're searching, and the 146 must be some that are moving in between programs. So sometimes when families are moving from one unit to another, they are searching as well. We had no vouchers that were expired. We have 1 lease up, 2 transfers. We do have 22 late recertifications per PIC and 92 late inspections per PIC. I checked this number myself, and the numbers were not updated for May, so HUD still shows that for as of April 30th. Late recertifications and late inspections are CMAP indicators, and so we do have quite a bit of late re-examinations and inspections that we need to get done. There are also a number of them that just need to be uploaded into the system correctly. Last month we approved that our PHA Web is going to assist us in that process, and so that we would hopefully see this number come down soon. We had 1 port in. We had no port outs. We have 1 port billing. We had 1 end of participation.
Anybody have any questions about the Housing Choice Voucher report? I did have one question. It says we've got 246 or 377, but what's the 143 And 246 doesn't add up to 377.
The 246, I mean, the 243 and the 3 add up to the 246. So that's.
Right, yeah, that's the 246, I'm talking about the 377. So how do we, because it says we got 143 searching, if we have 143 plus we got that many in, shouldn't that add up or no?
No.
Okay.
So
Because I was just trying to figure out where because it should be what, 131 that don't have leases right now, correct? That have vouchers but don't have leases?
no.
Before it's, okay.
So let me explain those numbers. 246 is the number of families that we have leased on the program, so
Right.
that's utilized. 377 is the baseline. Those are the number of potential units that we have per PIC. This is waiting list numbers. So waiting list numbers are not part of utilization, they're not counted. So here is, so there's 2,214 applicants on the waiting list, and she's saying that out of that, 143 families are searching from the waiting list.
So do they have vouchers then currently that
Yes.
just aren't being utilized?
Yes, there are people that have vouchers and are searching, but a voucher doesn't affect our totals until after the person is leased on the program.
Correct, so we need to have them leased for it to
Correct.
them
So,
and to help us.
yeah, so that's the good thing that means you have that many people who are already out searching with vouchers.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to understand that a little better. Next is public housing.
Good afternoon. Fleur Lou, I had some dental work going on, so I apologize. Public housing, if you can notice, I did break down our waiting list for each public housing, home ownership, business activity, and MCHDI. I wanted to separate them so you all will see a clear waiting list numbers for each development. I'm sorry. Public housing, as you know, we have 2,330. 50 of those were selected from the waiting list, 37 withdrawn, 13 have final eligibility. We have 0 move-ins for May. Home ownership, we have 161 applicants. We have not selected anyone from the waiting list. Business activity, we have 318 applicants. We have not selected anyone from that particular waiting list. MCHDI, we have 291 applicants, and we have not selected anyone from that waiting list. To the developments, Lakeland Estates, we have 12 vacant units. We have 1 move-in for Lakeland, and we have 8 units that's a part of those 12 vacants that are in my status right now with HUD. Boulevard Gardens, we have 20 vacant units. I had 2 move-outs, and which is 6 of those 20 units are in my status with HUD. Harborside Home, we have 2 vacant units, and both of those units are my and HUD. Harborside duplexes is actually that percentage is wrong. It's supposed to be 100% because they're totally leased up. Scattered sites, we have 2 vacant units and 1 move out, and we have 1 unit in HUD. I did notice that they're saying in PIC that there are 28 late re-examinations. However, I did check, they haven't updated yet, and I have made sure, that all of my research are in. I think I have 2 with some big errors that we're gonna have to, fix. But that number should change, okay? Our business activity, we have 7 vacant units, 0 evictions, 0 move-out, 0 transfers, MCHDI. I know last month there was an issue, me and Ms. Dixon have counted those units as 19. I apologize for that 30, that was a mistake. That was a clerical error on me. 4 units are vacant and we haven't moved out. Nobody has moved out. We haven't seen anybody to the attorney. And that's it with my report.
So I have a question
Yes.
for you. So for MCHDI, you have 14 of 19, so that means 14 occupied out of the 19?
Yes.
So why is it 4 units?
Because those 2 units, I keep mistaking those 2 units that's in business activity per PHA Web, but per the deeds, their business activity, I'm sorry, MCHDI, and I did not include those 2 units. So that's my mistake with the bill.
And then Last question I have is on the waiting list versus applicants.
Yes.
For instance, under home ownership, you have 161 on the waiting list
Yes.
applicants and so forth under the other programs.
Yes.
This is activity, you have 318.
Yes.
HDI, you have 291 on the waiting list?
Yes.
Okay. And you have actual names
Yes.
of these
Oh, yes.
individuals for the list?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Commissioner Hudson?
Question two, if we look at both waiting lists, both for the HCV and for public housing, are there duplicate names on those?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so we're not looking at
Yes.
4,000 something people that we need a house.
Well, no, probably
Okay.
not 4,000. And also,
There
there's a lot of people on, public house and MCHBI business activity, home ownership and Section 8. So they apply for, everything that we were.
Okay, so they're just waiting for the first call out.
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Do we have a maintenance report?
I do have some information to give. I wasn't really sure what you're accustomed to with the maintenance. So what I did, I had a report, and then I realized it was basically duplicating the information that LaSharie gave. I was like, I don't think they want that. And so it was basically about the, so for maintenance, it was basically about the make-ready units. So the units that she has in vacant are make-ready, and then the units that she has under HUD mod, those are units that need to be contracted out. And so I'm working to get that done so that we can get that contracted. So hopefully in the next meeting or so, we'll be able to present something that at least maybe there's an RFP out for contracted units. Also too, the other portion of maintenance is a work order. So I did pull the work order report. However, it needs to be reconciled. No sense in me just giving you garbage numbers when I know they're incorrect. There's a lot of work orders here that need to be closed out. So it'll just take us a little time to get to that. But I do have the report if there was any specific questions. There's any that I can give, but I didn't want to give you this or make a report from this number, and I know it's incorrect.
Thank you.
Any questions from the board? I had a question on like maintenance, and I know we've got some units that need work, like we have a fire damage unit, and we have a couple other units that they really need to have work done, outside contractors. Do we have a list of each property that we know needs outside contractors versus the properties we know we can fix in-house? Have the inventory broken down that way?
Yes, so generally under LaSharie's report where it says mod, and I don't know if there's a better way you want to say that mod units, those are typically units that need to be contracted out. And so once we get them under contract, then we can submit that to HUD so that those days don't continue to add against us.
Right. I was thinking more of the ones that might not be included in mod, because I know all of our vacant units aren't included in mod.
Correct. So so when you say
So they haven't been added in, or they haven't been certified as.
So when it comes to maintenance, we have make-ready units.
Right.
And so the make-ready units are typically the units that maintenance can turn over themselves.
Okay.
When they determine that they cannot make, they can't do them themselves, then they're actually considered to be mod or to be contracted.
Okay.
But yes, I can make sure that, I do have a list, a short list here. I have about 6 that I have, 3 I know that are at Boulevard Gardens, and 2 scatter sites that I know that are make ready right now.
Okay. What's our turnover right now for make-ready units?
I don't have that.
Okay.
So I have been, I think day one I started, I was asking LaSharie about a report. What I'm actually looking for is a report. There's a cycle with maintenance. There's a portion that are down days. So once the tenant moves out of the unit, I call it hot potato. Once the tenant moves out of the unit, the unit is turned over to the property manager. Those are down days. Then from the time that the property manager gives it to the maintenance, those are make-ready days. And then when it's returned back to the property manager, those are leasing days. So I've been trying to work with, we've been working with PHA Web to see if we can get a report that tells us exactly that, so that we know what that cycle is. And so HUD has an average of what that should look like in pretty much each area. And so we can say, hey, if there's a one-bedroom unit in this complex, it takes so many days for us to get that turned over. So we're working towards that.
All right. Takes us to finance.
Is that me again? So we have, so first of all, is it okay if I,
You have to, you do.
okay, no problem. We have Anisha Jackson Beck. She started with us on Monday. She is a long-term accounting temp from Robert Half. And so she started with us Monday. She's been doing very well, catching on to our housing accounting thus far. Have much more work to go. But we do have the registers for April's checks is what we have listed here. And so we were hoping that in the next month, we will actually have more of a finance report for you.
Are there any questions on the claims list? Anything that jumps out at the commissioners?
No.
Can we get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Do we just do a roll call vote? Call the roll, please, Ms. Dixon.
Chairman Loney, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Aye.
Vice Chair Reyna.
Aye.
Commissioner Benning.
Aye.
Commissioner Benson.
Aye.
Commissioner Conley.
Aye.
All right, so those are paid. We don't have a update on the budget yet because we haven't gotten to that correctly. Correct, yeah.
That is correct.
So we're still working into that. Okay, so that brings us to executive director report.
Me again?
You again. This is all you though.
Just a hot spot. So the first thing I have to report is I'm still here. It's been a long month and a half. So the month of April was pretty much dedicated to a lot of organizational tasks, getting things turned over, getting what we need done at the bank. There's a lot of observing what's correct, what's incorrect, what we need to have more investigation on. Almost immediately, what I noticed was some issues with some of our financing processes. And because I started on April 1st, the one that hit me first was the hot checks. So we have historically paid the hot checks a little bit behind schedule. When I did an investigation to that, it was the process that was done. There was a lot of manual process between our software and the bank. And so I was able to get that rectified for May's first check run. Didn't do it as early as I wanted it to do, but May checks were actually sent out on May 3rd. It took about 4 days to get that process between the software and the bank done, but moving forward, that should go seamlessly. So there's just a lot of reconciliation. So what happened is in the HAP portion, there should be an upload from our software to the bank, and that wasn't happening. It was being inputted manually. So over the course of me being here for the last 45 days or so, there's a lot of information in our system, in our software system, that was not the same as our bank. So basically there was some manual entry, and which causes for more human error. So we are working through that process with our HAP checks. Moving forward, we won't have that, but there is some cleanup. Something else, we're working to have a schedule for accounts payable. They're just very much of a backlog of tenant complaints. We talked a little bit about the late re-exams. Some of that is that the examinations are indeed late, and some of that is to do with us processing and uploading into the PIC system correctly. So we're working to do that. Our voucher, we do have some leasing capability in the voucher program. So we're working to, first of all, reconcile our waiting list so that we can pull and make sure that we're pulling in order. As I mentioned, we have our consultant came in on Monday, and I'm so happy that she's still here. I'm so happy that she's still here. In the first month that I was here, we also had a workers' comp audit. and we basically just needed to supply information. The audit came about because there was a deadline missed, and so we ended up just providing the information that was needed, and we haven't heard anything back about that audit, so we think that that's done. I do have an open position. I am hiring for a housing specialist. That specialist will work between the HCV program and the public housing program to assist and also to provide some backup. One of the issues that we have here is when people leave, there's no one to kind of assist. So they will be able to help with day-to-day and just give a little security to the housing authority so that we don't have some of the situations that we've encountered thus far. The only other thing that I have is that I will be attending the VADA conference on June 2nd.
Okay. Any questions for Dee? Any questions? All right, attorney's report.
As you heard from Ms. Garland, there have been no tenants sent over to the attorney's office for eviction, so we don't have any of those to report on. We have had 2 cases that the Housing Authority is involved in that are going through litigation, both involving former ED. We will be looking to discuss schedule a executive session for that, just to discuss where we are. So you'll be hearing about that relatively soon. The executive director will be reaching out to me for dates for that. Also, we have been in contact with 2 different regulatory agencies from the state of Indiana regarding ongoing matters at the Michigan City Housing Authority. One is the Utility Regulatory Commission, the other is the State Board of Accounts. We're getting things corrected. The new ED has been very essential in making sure that we get that communication timely so that we can deal with these things in the way that they need to be dealt with.
All right. Anything else? Any questions for the attorney? All right, new business. We do have a new commissioner. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to join us today, so hopefully we'll see her at the next meeting. And I know while we've been trying to fix some of our financial situations, HUD in Indianapolis has been really great in helping us, reaching out, say, hey, we need to get this done. So Mrs. Dixon brought to our attention that we need to do an authorization to obligate our capital funds that hasn't been done because we've had issues getting into our funds. So we have a resolution. Could you explain what that's about?
Absolutely. So there are a number of items we have a capital fund for 2022 and 2023. And also we have an emergency grant. For the capital fund, once HUD gives us the money, we have time to obligate it and time to use it. And for the grant for 2022, we have not obligated those funds, and obligated means being under contract. We haven't for 2023 as well. For 2022, we are late. I received a notification that it had expired 3 days ago, a couple days ago. And so actually Bruce reached out to me and said that he knows exactly what's going on with us at the Michigan City Housing Authority, and suggested had walked me through for us to sign these certifications to go along with the capital fund. I received an email today. There's actually a waiver extension that I'm going to request, and these forms are going to go along with that waiver application. I believe that the capital fund and the emergency grant, he's having me put in just as a preliminary. We're not late yet, but let's go ahead and get the waiver for all of it. Because there are a few deadlines that are looming or have passed. So just a way to get caught up. The field office has been really good about wanting to assist us. And so I said, okay. And here is the resolution. And as you can see, one is for the capital fund 2022. It is for about $475,000. And what you first see is the ACC amendment. for the 2022 capital fund. And then with any type of fund that we get from HUD, we always have certain certifications that are required to go along with that. So you will see those certifications. And then once you get through that, then there's a second file for 2023. I do not have so these are amended ACCs for the capital fund. For the emergency grants, it is actually a new ACC, and I'm waiting to receive that from HUD. But in the meantime, Bruce suggested that we go ahead and get those forms still completed for the emergency grants. So the last 3 pages of this section are for the emergency grants.
Any questions? Commissioner Vincent.
Well, question, we get our waiver on this, and then we have time to obligate?
Yes, that is correct, so that we don't lose this money.
Sure. Okay, do we have any idea what we're gonna obligate, or is that a workshop, or you have some mindset on that?
So that actually should be in conjunction with the annual plan and the 5-year plan, and that states what we're going to use it for. That's also another deadline that is June 2nd, and we're getting a waiver for that as well, and that will outline what our plan is to use the capital funds. We could, and I don't know, I'm just saying some things off the top of my head, but it could be roofs, it could be whatever upgrades are needed for modernization.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Vincent, that kind of goes along with why I was like, if we could get a priority list for our housing, because we've got some that have been vacant for years.
Correct.
And like I said, we got one that's been fire damaged for months. We need to get that taken care of, because that's not good for even the neighbors of the fire damage unit. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, we need to create a priority list. And
On that, just to continue on the fire damage thought, is there insurance that we got for fire damage?
I believe there's a claim made. I'm not sure if we followed up on that.
I'm not sure. I'd have to double check.
Because that happened under the previous administration. So,
So all of our
Picking up the pieces.
need to be repaired. Is
So-
that why they're vacant?
So there's some units that the maintenance are able to handle to repair, and then there's other units that either go beyond their skill set or just time. So they're doing the make readies, and then there's a list that we would really like to get out to get contracted, and that requires us submitting, first of all, obligating our money, getting the money, obligating the money, and then us doing an RFP for proposals from contractors for those units.
do you have a motion on this resolution?
I make a motion to adopt.
A second.
Ms. Dixon,
Oh, I'm sorry.
call the vote, please.
Chairman Loney,
Aye.
Vice Chair, Chairman Reyna, Commissioner Denny, Commissioner Denson,
Aye.
Commissioner Conley.
Aye.
Resolution so adopted. So that takes us to old business, which, if you look at the agenda, is a long list of stuff that we gotta fix, and we're still working on it. Did anybody have any new thoughts on board subcommittees? We were supposed to get a list, but the person that was supposed to provide that list is no longer with the agency, so.
And I actually pulled it out and I forgot to bring it because it was part of the subcommittees that we had before. And it's just a list that we had assigned different commissioners to. So if we want to use those same subcommittees, I'll make sure I bring it to the next meeting.
Okay. Commissioner Vincent?
I would like to make a suggestion with subcommittees, because I think we got tied up last time in subcommittees. We had them all assigned, and we were all meeting on subcommittees, and then we just got drowned at our meetings with subcommittee reports and what direction are we going to move in. If I could suggest that we make a subcommittee on an as-needed basis, other than setting a subcommittee aside that we don't intend to use. It's not even part of our 5-year plan, but we have a subcommittee already set up. But if we just go to it as needed, then we know we have board members present, board members that are active, and we can concentrate on that one need of that subcommittee that we assign.
Right, I think that was even Attorney Ragg's suggestion, we were talking about the bylaws, because we don't have the subcommittees in the bylaws, because they need to be flexible for our needs.
I thought they were in the bylaws.
They
They are in the bylaws, yeah.
But we discussed taking them out of the bylaws.
And I agree with Commissioner Benson about doing it on an as-needed basis. I think the one main subcommittee that we really utilized was the resident slash security one. We had residents that were showing up at meetings all the time, addressing issues, bringing complaints, bringing whatever it was that they wanted to address to the board in addition to the security. I think it was resident slash security, because you and I were on there.
I wasn't on it, but.
Oh, I was on there. With two
That
other-
was a good
Yeah,
subcommittee.
and that one was, I think, the most utilized because we had like a mass amount of people that were attending meetings, tenants that were attending meetings on a regular basis. So I think that one, unless, I agree with you, unless that comes back up where we have a rash of tenants coming in, I agree that we should do it on an as-needed basis.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that on the resident services. That should be a permanent committee. Also, there should be one for finance, I would think. Just because, especially, even if it didn't exist, I feel like there should be one because we've got so many issues and we don't have, we've got late deadlines that are missing. We're risking losing money. So we got to make sure that we're following up on that, even if it's nothing more than to get together and say, yeah, we're within budget. So then when we come back to the meeting, we know what's going on there. Because right now we've got our new temporary help in the finance department. That is it right now. So, and again, we don't want to run afoul of accounting principles and things like that. So, but yeah, I'm not assigning anybody to any committees tonight. That's just things to think about.
Is that a motion that you were?
No, it wasn't.
No, okay, just, no, I was asking.
No.
No, that was just comment.
Okay.
HUD visit, we still have not gotten a response back from them. We did get a response back from BDO though. If you flip past all the, we have the financial assessment. And Ms. Dixon, could you give us kind of a rundown on what that is? And what they told us?
Absolutely. So first of all, I know this is a lot of information, and I actually met with, had a webinar, I met with him via Teams, and we discussed some of his major recommendations were eventually to have our fee accountant that we work with, that we have now. We need to catch up on our monthly statements, our monthly finance statements. So we need to make sure we get the information. So that is one of the things that I have charged with our accountant now, is to make sure that we are getting the information to our fee accountant so that we can reconcile our books monthly. Our fiscal year end will be coming shortly. He recommended that we continue to do that for the time being, and that maybe in the future we look to either have our current fee accountant work to use PHA Web, or to get a different fee accountant at some time in the future. One of the things that he mentioned was that the budget template needs some work. It's obvious that our budget template was not designed for our agency. Our budget template was another agency's that was just gone in and omitted some information. So that was one of his comments. We need to make sure that we revise our policies and procedures, develop some more, and then follow them, of course. Again, his suggestion long-term was to continue what we're doing now, not to continue what I'm doing, I'm sorry, to continue with our current process, but making sure that we get the information to the fee accountant. He stated that BDO would be available if need be. We pretty much opt no for day-to-day with BDO because they are extremely expensive. Extremely. That'd be another salary or so. He did say that they would be available potentially for year-end close. Hopefully that's something our current fee accountant will be able to do. And then what we really talked about was maybe long-term some technical assistance that BDO can provide us now that we have someone in place. Again, our accountant is a temp, but she's a long-term temp. And so she is actually employed by Robert Half. And so she can be here from up to 2 weeks up to 2 years. So it's not as though we're in a situation where there's a temporary, it's actually stable for the time being. And he suggested that we could possibly enter a contract with them later, maybe for some technical assistance. Maybe once a month or something, if we reached out that there were some issues. So right now, I'm hoping that we can get caught up and that our current accountant here can work with our current fee accountant to kind of get us where we need it, and then possibly look at having BDO provide some assistance to us kind of after we do all of that. Their concern was that they bring us on now, they realize we're a small housing authority, we don't have the funding, and really that's what they will be doing if they came on board, is getting us caught up. And so we get that information to our fee accountant. So again, there were some policies that he mentioned. We are not allocating our expenses properly to our appropriate accounts. There's some of the things in here that were mentioned that we've already taken care of. They recommended that the user maintenance and PHA web should be handled by the accounting department. As of right now, it's handled by me since I came on board. They did recommend that we do get a CFO and that to be filled and to transition back our financial assistance. She's no longer here, so that it works itself out as well. We talked about some of not having controls with our payroll. We're working to get us up to speed, possibly with our next payroll. That can be done between myself and the accountant. What I also asked for the BDO is if you wanted to, he could come. He could actually present at a meeting if you want him in person or on a Teams call or so forth, that he could present to the board and review if you wanted a more in-depth, if you had more in-depth questions than what was just listed here. We talked about having an electronic PO system. One of the things that was noted is that our POs are not numbered, and so our hat checks, we talked about that as well. We would like at some point to have our vendor checks be direct deposit or ACH payments. So those are definitely something that we want to do. He also mentioned us having accounts payable or payables done twice a month, which was in line with what I had recommended. And it's just a lot here. I don't know if you want me to go on and on and on. And of course, we need to review our current operating budget and resources to make sure everything is being received and reported properly, which we know overall is not. But most importantly is we have to get the finances to the fee accountant. And so in addition to just paying our bills, that is what Ms. Jackson Beck has been charged with.
Any questions?
I have a few questions and comments. All of the stuff, like you said, it's a lot. Does it sound manageable?
It does. Certain things, what I noticed is just very simple checks and balances that are not in place. And so I believe that the staff did the best job that they could during the time that there was no one here. And they just didn't know. If you don't know accounting principles, you're just trying to get the checks paid. And so I think that's what was done. Just certain things like even recording of deposits when we take rent payments all day. The same person who's taking them can't deposit them. And so those are just some accounting principles that maybe other staff would be familiar with. So what I'm more concerned about is the budget. That would probably be the area that I would be most concerned of because we don't know what that looks like. And one of the things that Mr. Tucker mentioned when I met with him was that until we get the monthly finances done, we really don't know what we're dealing with. So we do know that the procedures are not correct. We do know we need to have checks and balances, but until we actually get the finances to be able to look at them, it just makes it a little difficult to determine where we're really at.
And you mentioned a couple times about our current fee accountant, and we've had some comments with our fee accountant since I've been on the board. We have the correct fee accountant. Are they able to do what we're going to ask of them?
Well, it's my understanding that they did that last year. They did it previously. The holdup that we've had is that there's been no finances submitted to the fee accountant since October of last year. So throughout the month, as we are paying bills, taking checks, nothing is being sent to the fee accountant for her to process.
Okay. But as far as the reports and the format of the budget, do they work with any of that?
So the budget actually is done by us in the office. And so that's where a BDO or another consultant could come in and provide assistance to Ms. Jackson Beck or whoever we had in place.
And does our current fee accountant, does their system speak with our system?
No. So that was actually one of the recommendation that we were given is that could probably happen this fiscal year, but at some point, maybe starting in October, that we should insist that our fee account is using the same software that we're using. There was this concern that that things may look very pretty on their site, but that's not what's happening when you go and look into our system. And so they should match. And our software system really isn't being used for finances. It's the system that the fee accountant uses. So for example, BDO explained that when they're the fee accountant, they use the software system that the Housing Authority is using to manage their books. It makes it easier, it makes it more understandable that the Housing Authority can see what is going on a monthly basis. Our fee accountant is using a different system.
Okay, and we will know in time if they don't adhere to our suggestions.
Correct. Sound like BDO was ready to help us out if not.
Okay. All right.
But his actual suggestion, Ms. Jackson Beck was on the call with me. His actual suggestion is for us to get the information to the fee accountant to finish up for this fiscal year, and then moving forward, either one, ask that they use our system or find another fee accountant.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Any other questions? One of the things I noticed at the back of the report is there's an implementation plan that we could either use it as is or use it as a baseline. That these are things that need to be corrected, and create an action plan so they are corrected. And that's something that I guess we'll work on. Training. You mentioned you're going to a conference in June?
Yes, June 2nd, FADA. So previously I had been a member of FADA's scholarship committee as well as their housing committees. And so that is something that I would like to continue, assist the agency. We're able to network on a national level and be involved and have a voice in what happens in housing.
Do we need to do a vote to approve that? Okay. Because it technically wasn't in the budget, so I wasn't sure if we needed to do that separately or not. Also with training, has anybody created their HUD Exchange account and looked at the Lead the Way training online? That I mentioned at the last meeting? So, okay. That was just me. Yeah? Apparently.
Just a bunch of words.
I feel you there.
HOTMA, we haven't worked on any of our policies, so we still need to look at HOTMA, Inspire, our personnel policies. How many different copies of the personnel policies have you found so far?
In all fairness, what I would think is that when a personnel policy was changed, someone made a lot of copies. And every time that change happened, they made a lot of copies. And so it took me about 3 or 4 before I found what was current. So I'm getting rid of all the extra copies.
And then we also need to make some updates to those policies. So, like the changes you're making, did you say there isn't a dress code in our policy currently?
I did not see a dress code.
Okay, so just different things that need to be addressed along the way. The agency bylaws go along with that too, because, I mean, they work, but I know that HUD found some things that they didn't like in our bylaws that we should probably clean up, because there's just not an answer necessarily, like who does this, what's the responsibility here, so it's not spelled out, so. And then procurement policies, we have one, correct?
Correct.
Okay, but we don't have an in-house expert on procurement.
Depends on what you call it in-house. I'm actually certified
Okay.
multiple times.
I thought you were saying that you haven't, that's not your area of specialization, sorry.
Oh, no. It's not, it's not my foundation.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't trying to throw you under the bus or anything.
Oh, no,
just 'cause-
no
But I do know that we
offense
need to,
taken. No offense taken.
we,
So to follow up with that, when I spoke with Bruce, he asked me where would we, if there was any assistance that we would like. And so what I said to him was, it seems like we're kind of working with the finance, and perhaps maybe if there was some assistance with procurement, because it's the volume of procurement that we need in a short period of time. And so he said he would get back to me to let me know if there was anything that he could provide or have someone else assist us with.
yeah, because that goes back to obligating our capital funds and things like that, so. Any other questions regarding the policy updates and things that we need to take care of?
Is that just for the board? Are you asking?
Yes, sorry.
Excuse me.
So that brings us to commissioner remarks. Anybody have anything they want to talk about today? Anything we went over, anything that needs to be addressed at future meetings?
I just want to make a comment about E.D. Dixon. I think coming in to the challenges that we have come into just over, a month and a half, I've just seen a lot of small little steps that are very amazing. They're very transparent. It's a change. I think you're a breath of fresh air coming in, and don't leave us.
I'm not.
I'm excited to see some of the path that you're going to guide the agency down, and all the ideas, and filtering through the weeds and things that you have to go through. I just commend you on the small hurdles that you've made just in this short time. So thank you.
Much appreciated.
Anyone else? No. Open for a motion.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
No.
We're good.